Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this rather unique Rangers review evening briefing. We're just after 7:30 UK time. Joshua, what time is it over there in Prague?
Just the hour ahead, so nothing too spectacular.
Yeah, he's in his hotel room after venturing over to the Sparta Prague Stadium this evening, where he's spoken to Philippe Clement and Todd Cantwell. Were also put up for the press. Rangers have landed in the Czech Republic ahead of tomorrow night's Europa League clash with Sparta Prague. Joshua, I think that the big issue prior to the press conference was the left back position, whether Borna Barisic was going to make it. We know he never made training this morning. He will not make the game. Dujon Sterling, ditto likewise, wasn't training. He will not feature also. What did Philippe Clement say about that left back dilemma that he has, of course, with Ridvan Yilmaz not in the European squad?
Yeah, like he said, you can watch the press conference on our YouTube channel. You can read the full transcript. You can read my piece from it. So loads of coverage out with this video as well. But he said with a broad smile, Derek, I should add, there is no left back in the squad, not a natural one. But instead of, the context here is that he's lost his left back at the weekend to Borna Barisic. The player who came on to replace him and replace him pretty well in Ridvan Yilmaz is not in the European squad. And the backup to the backup, Dujon Sterling, is also unavailable through injury. But instead of complaining, he was quite, I'll read what he said because it kind of speaks for itself. He said, I'm not a coach that goes around in circles when there's a problem. There's no left back in the squad, not a natural one. I like to find solutions, so it'll be another player who does not play in his position. He will have to fill that position and do a job for the team. You can keep on talking and being negative, but someone else needs to come in and do a job for the team. I expect everyone to attack together and defend together. In this position, you have different things to do, attacking and defending. So I want that mindset from my players, especially when someone has to step in a different way from before. I'm confident with my squad. I did confirm that Barisic's injury wasn't serious, and when he was kind of pressed on the fact that you arrive at the club and your left back, a lot of money was spent on last season, you can't even pick him in this game, even though he's fit, even though he's training today. But again, rather than making that a hard luck story for himself, he focused on the fact that he needs to find solutions, and he's not really interested in looking to the past or looking at why that decision might have been made, but instead is just focused on how the circumstances that he has at the moment. I think it leads to real options: Adam Devine or Ben Davies. Derek, I can't think of anyone else who, unless you put someone like, I don't know, Lundstrom or a Jack in there, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No chance.
We can maybe come to speak about who is going to be in that position. I think it probably will be Ben Davies. I think that's the decision that makes the most amount of sense. But yeah, I guess that's the main takeaway from Clement's press conference, as was reported earlier today. And no natural left back in the squad, so he will have to adapt tomorrow evening.
Yeah, I think it is between Adam Devine or Ben Davies. I've not really seen Davies really out there in that left back position. We know he can play there. I personally would like to see Adam Devine getting an opportunity.
Would you?
I would, yeah. I thought he did well, of course. Remember when Michael Beale came in and he was sort of forced to play him for a bit of time with injuries. Injury to Ridvan, and of course Borna was away with Croatia at the World Cup, and I thought he did well when called upon. I would like to see him get an opportunity, I've got to admit, but it remains to be seen what the manager will do tomorrow. Was there any other interesting points of note from the manager earlier on, Joshua?
I think firstly, just on the left back, I think it'll be Davies, because if you play Adam Devine, you don't have a left footer in the entire starting 11, do you? Off the top of my head, do you, or am I making that up? I don't think you do. Lammers is kind of two-footed, but you don't have a central midfielder who's a left footer. You don't have a left winger who's a left footer, and if Suter's playing, you don't have a left centre back who's a left footer. So maybe it's an argument that makes you a little bit one-dimensional. Now, I don't think Davies is going to bomb up the touchline and maybe give you as much in the final third as either Barisic or Ridvan would in different ways. I also think he's good enough in the ball and kind of has operated in those type of areas when he's playing in a back three at points, or even at points when he's played in a back two for Rangers, to be comfortable enough in those positions. He's played at left back earlier in his career. So I don't think it's the ideal choice, but I think the fact that he's left-footed, the fact that Rangers have no other left-footers in the squad, they quite often build in a back three anyway. We spoke this morning, Derek, about how they have that right-sided bias when they're building, playing attacking, so maybe it won't change too many elements of their dynamics of play elsewhere. But I think it'll probably be Ben Davies, as much as I'm in favour of someone like Devine coming in, who's a young player, and you're right, did really well in difficult circumstances around this time last season. So I think people would still feel confident enough if he's in the starting 11 tomorrow. I think Ben Davies is probably the decision that makes most sense.
Yeah, lots of comments coming in. Well, first of all, thanks to Rangers Loyalist, who has become a member of our YouTube channel. So thank you very much for your support, buddy. It's greatly appreciated. Neil McLean has got in touch just with regards to tomorrow. It says, evening, guys. Not confident for tomorrow's. I'm not sure what Rangers will get. And then his message just tails off there. I'm not too sure what he was meant to say, but I get your point, Neil. And Ali Filatelli with an interesting point. Sounds like he'll stick to a back four rather than a back three, despite his experience of using a back three, probably because it would likely be Sima at left midfield, and he's too attacking despite his good work ethic. We have discussed it. I mean, there was a couple of comments when me, you, and Stevie were on. Josh, I'll get this message down about a potential back three. Maybe see that tomorrow, do you think, with the sort of the problem he has at finding a replacement for Barisic and Ridvan there?
I think the Ali's previous comment sums it up for me. You probably want, I think Sima played wider than we've seen him so far at the weekend, but you want him, I don't think you want him deep kind of receiving with his back to goal. There's Neil's comments. We know.
Yeah, he said it was sent
too early. Yeah, there you go. I think if it was Rabi Matondo, then it's maybe different because you want him picking the ball up deep, whereas you want Sima running behind. So I think you want him as close to the box as possible. If you look at his numbers, and there's a members video about this, there's a piece on the website about this as well. He's at his most effective in the box. Only Cyril Dessers does average more touches in the opposition box than Sima. So he's at his most dangerous. He's at his most effective when he's threatening to run in behind the defence, or he's high up the pitch. I agree with the comment. I don't think you want him starting in a left wing back position. If you play Davies in there, in theory, it becomes a back three when you're building up, which is something that we saw at points Clement do at the weekend. You maybe have Lundstrom and Raskin, and ahead of that, it enables Tavernier to get as high as possible on the right-hand side. Then you have Tavernier providing your width on one side, Sima on the other, both players who can get in behind and are quite strong running threats. And then you have a central striker, presume it's going to be Dessers after his performance at the weekend, and then two players off him, which I think will be probably Cantwell and Lammers. So I think that's what the team will be. We'll obviously have our predicted teams tomorrow on the website, but in agreement with that comment, you want Sima closer to goal. I mean, he's been your best attacking threat, Derek, hasn't he? If you're the Rangers manager, He's been the one who's most likely to score goals. He's going back to a City where he kind of launched his footballing career, so I don't think you want him at left wing back, not because he won't track back defensively, because he will, and you saw that at the weekend, but more because he's one of Rangers' most dangerous attackers at the moment, and if you pull him back 10, 15, 20 yards, I think that makes the evening more comfortable for the home team.
Yeah, and I think they'll be wary of him as well. Of course, we know he did well at Slavia. There were a number of big clubs eyeing him up when he was brought through there. And he was asked about, I liked his comment, Clement, when he was asked at the tail end of the press conference, Joshua. He described him as a soldier. I like that description of him.
Yeah, he's Clement's actually, I thought he'd be quite stern in press conferences, but he's cuts quite a relaxed figure, I think, so far. Keeps using phrases like football addict and football animal, which I'm a big fan of. He called the opposition manager a football addict as well, who he knows. So, what was the question? Sima, Sima being a. I mean, we spoke about it. We spoke about it multiple times, but his work ethic at the weekend was so impressive. And conjunction with the two goals that he scored, I think he's playing with a lot of confidence. You want him as close to goal as possible. I think that role suits him, where he's at times he's running up the left flank, but more often than not, he's cutting inside, able to attack on his right foot and attack the box and utilise, I think, the space that's around him on the left-hand side. So fully expect him to be a key player for Rangers tomorrow. I think the big selection dilemma is maybe who plays next. I think Cantwell has to come in at that number 10, or do you play him off the right and allow him to move inside as he did for the final kind of 30 minutes of the weekend. I think probably you want him as your number 10 tomorrow. Even if Lammers and Dessers had a good game off the ball at the weekend, I think that's the one kind of question position. Outside of the left back, I think you've got 8 or 9 certain starters. I think it's who starts alongside Cantwell and those kind of behind the striker and inside right position, and who plays at left back. I think it'll be Davies. Do you think it'll be Devine?
Yeah, I don't know if
to be Devine.
I think I would, if I was Clement, I just want to see Adam Dillard providing that Rangers team. I've got to admit, I want to see him getting an opportunity. James Quinn, there's a bit of a debate going on in the comments about someone mentioned that we should start John Lundstrom at left back. James Quinn says Derek Josh Lunny left or right-footed. There's a bit of debate going on whether he's left or right-footed. I think he's pretty decent with both, Joshua. Is John Lundstrom an option, do you think, over on that left-hand side?
I mean, he's right-footed. He's good on his left foot. He scored a lot of goals with his left foot, and he can really take a ball
with his left foot, of course.
Yeah. But no, he's 100% right-footed, and you see that in the way that he always plays towards the right-hand side, doesn't he? So I guess there's some. So how I guess it impacts the dynamic of the team. Again, I think if you've got Davies there, if you don't have any left footer in the squad, to become a bit predictable, and you can't maybe play the balls over the top to Abdullah Sima, you can't have that balance on the left side of the pitch. Lundstrom, we've seen him play in a back three or in defence before. We've seen him, and he's, I think, quite effective at defending. I think it was Leipzig away, and particularly played in that back three, and I think he is quite effective when defending wide areas, because although he's not the quickest over short distances, he is quite a big imposing profile, and especially in Europe, we've seen when it's over longer distances, that can be really beneficial for the team. So I don't think it'll be him at left back. I think it'll be one of Devine and Davies. I think Davies is the selection that makes most choice. And if you take Lundstrom out the middle, who goes in there? Yes, maybe Ryan Jack, but he's obviously just coming back from injury. If he at all was in the squad tomorrow, I don't think that was actually confirmed at the press conference. So I think Clement will want to upset the least amount of areas of that team as possible, and I think Lundstrom will definitely stay in the middle as opposed to moving to left back.
Yeah, there was a comment that came in. Ali says, I'm surprised that Robbie Fraser isn't even in the conversation. I mean, B team skipper, isn't he? But we've not really seen him. He did play, I'm sure, in that Leverkusen friendly at the turn of the year, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he? But we've not really seen him since in that first team. This is an interesting point that's come in from Mark Lawson, aimed at your good self, Joshua. He says, how do we improve our scoring from corners with so many players 6 foot plus? We should be scoring more from headers. Well, Clement's just in the door, Joshua. I think that is something I'm sure you'll be working on. It was a criticism of the team when Michael Beale and his coaching staff were in charge, not only corners offensively, but defensively. I think Rangers were poor at set pieces, and it's something I'm sure that Clement will be looking to address.
I actually think offensively it was an area under Michael Beale's tenure where they were good right back to when he came in. I can't remember the stats off the top of my head, but there's a 2,500 word piece on the website from last season that effectively digs into the detail of the numbers, because before they came in, you remember the 2-1 defeat at St Johnstone, Derek, where Rangers had 20 corners and they were all out swingers and they didn't threaten at all. So attacking wise, their set pieces I think were actually pretty effective under Michael Beale. You always want to score more goals from corners, but they are quite rare as a percentage of how many set pieces you
I would just like to see more invention, I think, with the corners, a bit of variation.
I think that I'd need to maybe go back and watch them all from this season, but I think I certainly think there was a lot more of that under Beale, who had a designated set piece coach in Harry Watling, as opposed to before with Van Bronckhorst, where I don't think at all, especially in that the start to last season, I don't think there was any invention or variation at all. I think there was more of that under Beale. I think there was still an issue defensively. You can trace that back to the PSV game where, yes, they're particularly strong in the air, and Luke de Jong is obviously kind of world class in that area of the pitch. I think defensively there's been more of an issue than at the attacking side, though, because again, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, Mark, but I'll maybe have a look later and get back to you, because I'm pretty sure if you looked at the set piece expected goals in the league this season, Rangers will be pretty high up the table.
Yeah. I see a lot of teams down south, and a lot of them mix set pieces up, not just corners, but free kicks and what have you. And you can tell teams that work on it in the training ground. I just would like to see a bit more invention. Mark Robb with the point here. Change them up. Too many outswingers, not enough in at the posts. And Scott McPhee gets in touch. He says, you can tell it's a pre-Europa League show. Derek has a big light on. That thing is like a second sun. It is burning through my energy bill like nothing else. So, it's we've reached that point in the year where you need to turn the light on. If the light wasn't on, Scott, then you wouldn't see any of my face. I don't know if that's a bad or a good thing, but there you go. Todd Cantwell was up as well. Joshua, he was asked a couple of questions, wasn't he? He was asked about his fitness and where he feels he's at this moment in time.
Yeah, nothing kind of too groundbreaking. Effectively saying that he's ready to play football, and I think you saw that with his performance at the weekend, Derek. He'd been out for 6 weeks, but he didn't come into the game as a player who looked like he wasn't match sharp. And he mentioned that, I think he mentioned this when he actually first came into the club, that his kind of base level, his base fitness, I think was a phrase that he's used, has always been pretty good. And it's allowed him, whether it be recovering from injury or when he's not played for a while, as was the case when he came to Rangers, to kind of start right away. So expect him to be in there tomorrow. We all know how good he is. We all know how effective he is in this team. And we all know that I think when he plays well, Rangers play generally tend to play a lot better than if he's not involved or if he doesn't play well. So I think he's going to be a centerpiece of Clement's team. I think he has to be. And I guess the question tomorrow is, does he start? Maybe does he start in that kind of right-hand side position, but on the ball he's allowed the freedom to move inside, or does he just start as that number 10 behind Dessers from the off? And I think if most people had the opportunity, the latter one would be the option that they picked for Cantwell.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing Cantwell tomorrow. I think, like you said in the show this morning, Josh, he's Rangers' best player. There's no doubt about it. And I think hopefully Clement can play him in his right position and he can thrive under the Belgian. Martin Garnett is feeling pretty confident about tomorrow night. He says, hi lads, I'm really positive about tomorrow night. Got a good feeling about it. Let's go Teddy Bears. He says, have you seen many more Rangers supporters out and about, Joshua, today?
Not too many today. I've been more at my laptop, sadly, today, Derek, so not seen as much of the sights, but we're heading in later to the Old Town, so maybe see some faces then. But I think the allocation is about 1,200. But something tells me there might be a few more Rangers fans over in Prague tonight and tomorrow. Yeah,
it's quite a compact ground, isn't it? It's just under 20,000, I think it holds.
Yeah, it is, and it's actually Philippe Clement was saying he forgot about this, but. You've had a good career as a professional kind of athlete and manager when you forget about details like this. But he said it was only when he was chatting to Cantwell on the pitch before they came into the press conference that he remembered he'd qualified for a World Cup at this very stadium.
Wow.
In 2002 with Belgium. So, he said it obviously holds happy memories for him. So, quite a compact ground. Pitch looked really good. I'm trying to think of a stadium I'd compare it to, but I can't really off the top of my head. But I think it's about 20,000 just under. So, sure it'll be a big atmosphere tomorrow, and the 1,200 or so Rangers fans at Rover will make themselves heard. But it's going to be a big one. It's big in relation to the group, because if Rangers get a positive result tomorrow with those two home games to come, it sets them up really well. If they were to draw or to even win tomorrow, then you've got Sparta Prague to come at home, you've got Aris to come at home, obviously Betis away. And then I think you're feeling pretty confident about their chances. If they're going to go and lose tomorrow, then again, they've still got those two home games, but you perhaps leave yourself needing something away at Betis away, depending on how other results go. So, huge game. And I think what Clement said after the game at the weekend was these wins are only relevant if they're backed up with more wins and performances. So I think that was his message after the game at the weekend. And I'm sure that will be his message to the players heading into the game tomorrow.
Yeah, and news, of course, from the Sparta Prague camp earlier on. I know their coach came out and asking his fans to behave and show Rangers respect. And Sparta Prague put out a statement as well. So hopefully we don't see the sickening scenes that we witnessed last time Rangers were over there. Of course, in that Europa League campaign back in 2021. Hopefully the supporters are on their best behaviour. And if you are heading out there, guys, just watch your back, stick together as always, and hopefully there'll be you're just enjoying a Rangers performance that you can be proud of over there in the Czech capital. What's your? I mean, we're going to speak tomorrow night, Joshua, when you're in the ground, when the teams are announced. What's your gut feeling at this moment in time? Is it one of optimism that Rangers can come away with a positive result here?
Yeah, I think there's good reason to after the weekend, Derek. I think Sparta Prague will be a difficult opponent. Clement said that. He said they're a better team. I asked him, how do you, as a coach in the past, I think what he's got a good track record of is not only winning domestic leagues and playing the dominant style you need to do that, but also being able to adapt and kind of punch upwards in European competition as well. And he gave some interesting answers about that. I think you'll see a similar approach and build up maybe where they're a bit pragmatic at points. They've got that running threat of Sima behind. They hopefully have players who have a little bit more confidence after the weekend. They might have Cantwell back in that starting 11 as well. So, yeah, I think it'll be Davies at left back. I think Cantwell will probably play alongside Lammers, with Lammers probably as the number 10 and Cantwell playing off the right. And then I think it'll be unchanged from the team at the weekend. And I think there's good reason to be positive. Rangers have been unpredictable at best this season, but here's hoping that Clement can change that. And listen, if he goes and gets a positive result tomorrow, Derek, with Hearts to come at the weekend in the semi-final, you do start to build some momentum. If he goes and has a bad result, you absolutely quash it all, such as life as a Rangers manager. So hopefully it is the former, and you can start to build a little bit of consistency and momentum.
Yeah, James Keen's going for a 2-1 Rangers win. I quite like that scoreline. I fancy Rangers to get a decent result tomorrow. I don't think they'll get beat. I've just got a feeling that they'll come away with at least a point over there in Prague, but it will be an intriguing affair. Remember, at a 5:45 kickoff, if you're watching in the UK, folks, one of those earlier kickoffs. So just make sure that you don't miss it. It's not the 8 o'clock kickoff, which will be the case when it is at Ibrox in a couple of weeks' time. Right, that'll do us there. If you want to watch that press conference, it is over on our YouTube channel. If you want to read the transcript, it's over on the Rangers Review website. So do go and check it out. I'll be on with Chris tomorrow morning, folks, and we'll discuss our teams, our predicted teams for the game tomorrow night. Joshua, you're heading out to the Old Town tonight to sample a few of the sites, I'd imagine.
Yeah, looking forward to. Well, I've seen a bit of the city so far, but the kickoff obviously is 5:45 UK time tomorrow. Yep. So, I'll maybe be joining for a little bit tomorrow morning as well, but on at night, so don't want people to see too much.
What's the food been like over there?
Very good. I'm trying to think what I've had off the top of my head.
You had Mitchell?
Yes, I did, and it was good right when I got here, actually. So, great city. If you've not been, I would recommend it. I'm thinking of coming back here with the better half at some point because it's a nice place. So, yeah, it's been great fun so far. Hopefully it's a positive Rangers result tomorrow. And, as you say, we'll have lots of coverage tomorrow, lots of extra coverage around the game, and then plenty over the course of the weekend into the game against Hearts. So if you've not subscribed, as ever, good time to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. On the website, folks, it's we've got 2 offers on just now: £4 for 4 months or £18 for an entire year. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. Right, we'll catch you again tomorrow morning. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening. Bye for now.